This is video 9 of part 3 of the Flickr browser, setting up material design and the other stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we need to create a new blank activity which is going to be for our photos detail, or photo details I should say. So I'm going to go into the Java package, right click, new, go down to activity and select blank activity again. And I'm going to call this one view photo details activity. Let's fix that typo. And the layout name, I'm just going to abbreviate to activity photo details. The title, we'll call that, let's just call that photo details. And for the layout name, let's just make that photo details instead of using the word activity, which is a bit redundant. And the menu, we're just going to call it menu underscore photo details. The hierarchical parent is main activity, and this time it's selected because we've selected that before, main activity. Okay, so there's our default class and layout, as you can see on the screen now. So we're going to go to the Java class first. And we're going to just add a few little bits and pieces. Firstly, we're going to extend from not action bar activity, from base activity. And then also we're going to run the action, activate toolbar with home enabled. And again, because this is a detailed screen, then they've clicked from the main activity. We want to have that home button or the left arrow to go back to the previous screen. So that's why we're using the with home enabled. So what we need now is a way to implement that. And we've seen it before when we added the search. So it was pretty simple in the main activity. We added this code here, which was the new intent to invoke the search activity. So we could do something similar, and in fact we will be doing something similar, but there's an additional step. And if you think about it, go back to our emulator, we need to know which element has been clicked on, because we want to pass the details of whatever the user has clicked to our view details activity so that we can sort of grab that data and present it on the screen. So we can't, it's not just one view. Each of these is sort of a mini view in its own right. And obviously they each relate to a particular photo object that's stored in our array list. So we need to break it down to that level of detail. So the simplest way of doing that is to pass an object to the intent. And we can do that fairly easily. And I'm going to go through and show you how to do that now. We're going to pass our photo object. So I'm just going to bring that up on the screen again. And if you remember the photo object, that's our simple object that contains the bits and pieces relating to the photo. First thing I'm going to do is, as I showed you in a previous video, I'm going to delete the getters and have them recreated. Command N, which I think is Alt N or Control N on a PC. Getters, and I'm going to select all the getters. And this time they now haven't got that annoying little M in there because of the fix I made in the previous video. But what we need to do in order to be able to use this object and to be able to pass it from one activity to another, the object or any object you do has to be serializable. So that's quite easy to do from a Java perspective. All we really need to do here is add a couple of things. Firstly, we need to put implements serializable, which is really just a way of saying we're using objects and so forth that are in a format that can be copied and that Java understands and can be passed from activity, and not just activities, it can be passed in all sorts of ways. We can be passed via, literally to a web service using serializable objects. So in this case, we're not doing that, but that's what this serializable does. Now, when we're adding a serializable or when we implement it, we need to add something else. We need effectively to add a version. So to do that, we type private static final long serial version UID. We're going to start out with 1 L for long. Now what that is meant to indicate is the version number of this object. So it's not version number of this class. It's not on an object level. So in other words, what we're saying is version 1 of this photo object consists of these fields. So if we were to make a change to this, say we added another field like, the second link or something like that, or, the author's email address, we would make that 2L. So if the original photo class was out there in the wild and being used in production, we could do a test and check to see what version of that photo class is in existence and what we were actually using. So in this case, we're just going to use 1L, and it's literally going to be the only one we use for this object. But that's a standard that you add when you're implementing the serializable interface. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add a getter for that as well. Okay, so we're going to go back to main activity, and we're going to go to our listener, the one that we've implemented with the long click. So what we're going to do is we're going to comment out this line, the toast line, and we're going to put our code in there because, of course, when we do a long click, that's when we want to implement and create the intent and move on to the the photo detail screen. So I'm going to type intent equals new intent. I'm going to do this. And of course, it's going to be view photo details activity dot class. Okay, I just need to change that to main activity dot this. Okay, then we want to do something extra here. We want to put intent dot put extra. Now this is a command which says don't just do an intent. Before you send or you process this intent, we want to include some data to be sent along with that so that the receiving activity can access that data. So we're going to be basically sending a photo object. So to do that, we can put extra. We're going to set up a final value of, we'll call it photo transfer, and we'll add that to base activity shortly. Transfer. And we're going to put Flickr recycler view adapter dot get photo, which we haven't implemented yet, which we're going to go back and add shortly, position. So position is passed automatically. So whatever item you click in the recycler view, the code that we've implemented is going to send that position back. So it's going to tell us sort of what element, if you like, and what's in the view correlates nicely with what's in the data in our array list in this case. So we can use that, and we can then go back and say return a photo object at that element position, which will sort of map nicely as to what is in the view. So first things first, I'm going to add that to base activity. Okay. And it's going to do exactly the same as the previous line. Public static final string photo transfer, and we're just going to call it photo transfer. Okay. And back to our main activity. So that's working. We need to get photo now. So we need to go back to our recycler view adapter and create this function called get photo, which is going to be quite a simple one. It's going to be public photo and get photo int position. Return null not equal to m photos list m photos list dot get position, or return null. So if m photos list is null, then we're going to return a null. Otherwise, we're going to return the photo object that is correct for this parameter position. Now, you might be asking yourself, why shouldn't we be validating that? Well, the thing is, we've received a valid position number from the adapter. When we tapped on the particular item in the view, it sent the position. So we don't need to validate that because we know that at this point in time, that does already exist. And incidentally, these errors, of course, are because of those fixes to the M that we just talked about. So I'm just going to fix those up now so that they still work. Okay, that's good. That's fixed. Okay, so if we go back now to our main activity, That's now okay. So we've now created the parameter to use. We're going to do the same thing at the other end in the details activity, and we've now got the actual class, or the object I should say, that's at that position, the photo object, and we're sending that with the intent. So then we just do the standard thing, which is start activity, which of course will be intent. And that's it. Okay, so we've implemented the on long click. So we've now created the intent, and we've sent that, set it up so that we're going to execute the view photo details activity. But of course, what we need to do now is we need to receive that intent. We need to receive that and sort of decipher the photo object that's come for us. So to do that, it's really quite simple. We just set up our toolbars as per normal, but then what we can do is put intent equals get intent. So we're not creating an intent, creating a new intent. We're retrieving the current intent. Then what we're doing is we're going to retrieve into our photo object whatever the data was that was passed. Photo equals photo, because we know it's a photo object, intent dot get serializable extra, and of course that's going to be photo underscore transfer. So that's going to return into an object called photo, the photo object that was passed from main activity. So that's, at this point we can access the data quite nicely. So now we've got the photo object. The next step is going to be the layout. We need to update the layout. So we've got the format, and this is where we're going to introduce the card view. So we're going to go and create that, and then we're going to come back here finally and basically update the fields that are in the layout to show our data on the screen. So I'll end this video here, and we'll see you in the next video when we start setting up the layout.